David Davis is suing his ex-wife, Jamie Leathers, for falsely accusing him of harassment. Jamie claims David hired a private investigator to follow her.
Yes, case number 51 on the calendar, the matter of Davis versus Leathers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Davis, the defendant is your former wife, and it is your claim that she filed a false accusation against you, and she was seeking to get a restraining order against you. You were forced to hire an attorney. The case was subsequently dismissed. You want her to pay your attorney's fees and damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Your former wife says the accusations that she made in the application for the protective order were true, and she says that you were threatening and abusive, and she's going to prove that to me. You have one child together who is now 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You've been divorced since when?
Divorce was final January 2006.
And when did you separate?
June of 2004.
Reading between the lines of your complaint and the defendant's answer, there has been some acrimonious stuff going on between the two of you, at least in part owing to the fact that you are in substantial arrears in your child support.
That's her attention, yes. Yes.
I'm reading between the lines,
Okay.
sir, because I'm an experienced family court practitioner, that if you're divorced, that means you don't like each other anymore. Are you remarried?
No, ma'am.
Are you remarried?
Yes, I am.
So, she's not mad because you have a life and she doesn't. She's happy. She's married. Are you happily married?
Actually, my husband and I are separated.
Not happily married.
But we are best friends, and I see him about 3 times a week.
All right. But she's not mad at you because she doesn't have a life, and you do. She's mad at you, sir, because you don't pay regular child support.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes.
I agreed to pay child support from the day I left of $600 a month. I've been paying that up until I got laid off in June 11th of 2006. I phoned Miss Leathers. I told her I was laid off, that I could not afford the
Your Honor?
that I could not afford the $600 a month. We could handle it one of 2 ways. Once I received what my unemployment benefits would be, I would give you a set amount every month until I find another job.
When did you find, listen to me, when did you find another job?
January.
January of what?
Of this year.
What kind of work do you do?
I do aircraft fueling technicians. I refuel aircrafts. I work on fuel cells of aircrafts.
How did you support yourself between June of 2006 and January of 2007? Who were you living with?
My girlfriend, Patricia, and I was receiving unemployment benefits.
So you had no rent?
Correct.
How much were you sending the defendant between June and January?
Well, Your Honor,
That requires a figure.
they were taking the money directly out of my unemployment benefits. When I told her I could not afford the $600 a month, I told her that I would go back to family court and I would file a petition for modify my child support.
Why should you get a modification?
I'm no longer making the money I was making before. Nowhere near it.
Then get 2 jobs.
I have 2 jobs. Your Honor,
You
I have
mean
my daughter
how-
12 to
just
14.
let
I have my daughter almost 50% of the time. Your Honor.
That is untrue.
If you interrupt him again,
Sorry.
it's not going to go well.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You agreed to pay her $600 a month. Your divorce was final in January 2006. According to you, up until January of 2006, you were paying $600 a month because you separated in 2004.
Yes, ma'am.
All of a sudden, divorce is final, and 5 months later, you say, I can't pay you the $600 a month anymore. Now I need a modification.
I was laid off from work.
That's fine. You can be laid off from work. That doesn't mean you can't work. When you have children, you have to say, I don't care what I do. I drive a cab, I collect cans, I go to a car wash, I do whatever else I have to do to contribute to the support of my child. Who do you work for?
I'm a school teacher.
She teaches, she contributes to the support of the child. I have to work and contribute to the support of the child. And if I can't do it fueling planes, I'll do it doing something else until I can get a job refueling planes. Now, having said that, sir, all I said to you was that's the reason for the acrimony, because you haven't been paying child support regularly. That being the case, she's going to tell me about why she filed this protective order and when. When did you file this protective order, Miss Leathers?
The middle of November 2006.
And on what basis did you file the protective order?
As he said, he and I separated in June of 2004. By the first week of July of 2004,
I'm not interested in anything that happened in 2004. Nothing.
Okay.
I'm interested in anything that happened the 3 months immediately preceding November of 2006.
Good.
When you filed for a protective order.
Okay.
Period.
August 10th, 2006, I went to pick up my daughter. My mother was with me and my stepfather. He dropped off my daughter and he said, "Your game is over, Jamie. I've had a private investigator follow you and I have your bank account information." And I looked at my mother and I said, "These are the kinds of things I'm talking about." My mom said, "You take your daughter, you keep walking." So my stepfather and I walked.
Well, I don't know what he meant by that. What did you
I didn't
mean?
know what he meant by that
What
either.
did you mean by that, sir?
Your Honor, the man she's been living with, the man she married, this is the whole root of the problem we've been having. This man she met on the internet and moved out here from Chicago. I had concerns about the welfare of my daughter. She's allowing this man to take my daughter to the public restroom. She's
Your
allowed
Honor?
this. She allowed.
Listen to me. Listen to me. That's not your business.
It's my daughter, my 2-year-old daughter.
It's not, listen to me. It's not your business, just as it's not her business that you're living with this lady. And the one thing we both care about is our child. And neither one of us would do anything to the child that would cause the child harm, unless, of course, you have proof that somebody is causing them damage. If she complained to me that she didn't like the fact that when your daughter was at your house, you let her crawl into bed with you and your girlfriend, I would say, that's none of your business. And I'm saying to you, your concerns about somebody that she met, whether she met him on the internet or she met him in a park or she met him at McDonald's, are none of your business.
I don't,
now,
Your Honor.
all I want to know is, what games were you talking about, sir?
I'm talking about the games where she has accused me to this man. Since she met this man, I have wanted to meet him. The 3 of them were at a restaurant. My 2-year-old daughter says she has to go to the bathroom. This man gets up and takes my daughter to the public restroom. I asked Ms. Leathers, why is he taking my daughter to the restroom? I'm saying, you're the mother. That is our daughter.
That's none of your business.
I believe it is, Your Honor.
And I'm
about
telling you.
This woman allows some man she met on the internet to move out here to Chicago and take my daughter to the restroom?
Her husband.
No, at the time it was not her husband. The only reason they got married, they married 4 days after this restraining order was dismissed, because I raised these same issues in the courtroom that day, and they got married 4 days later.
And what happened, Mr. Davis, when you raised the same issues? What did the judge say to you? Did the judge say, "Oh, my God? Oh, my God, we best call Child Protective Services immediately"? Is that what the judge said to you?
No, man, the judge did not respond.
Excuse me?
The judge did not respond to those issues.
That's right. The judge did not respond.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Him taking my daughter to the restroom, him taking my daughter to the locker room of the Y and giving her a shower.
That never happened.
Yes, it did. My daughter's swim class, yes, it did.
And later today,
You signed custody over to Miss Strickland because you and their mother were neglecting them.
No.
You just decided you had enough being a parent?
No.
What was it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Davis claims ex-wife Jamie Leathers falsely accused him of harassing her.
Listen, you don't have control anymore, sir. If you believe that someone is doing something that is not in your child's best interest and is harmful, abusive, or neglectful, your responsibility is to go to court or call Child Protective Services if you want to play that game. I would discourage you from doing that, but you don't start up with her. Just as she would have no sympathy from me if she said, I don't believe that my daughter has any right to stay at their house. She does stay at your house, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
And occasionally crawls into bed with you?
Yes, she does. Sometimes she does.
And you sleep with her?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And she's your girlfriend? Inappropriate?
I don't believe so.
Oh, well, who set you up to be the moral monitor?
Well,
You're a moral, just a second. You're a moral monitor? You have now a 5-year-old child who knows that you're not married to this lady, that you share a bed with her. I don't know what you wear when you go to sleep, and I don't know what she wears when she goes to sleep, but she crawls into bed with you. And if she said to me, I'm not letting my daughter go there anymore, if he's going to let my daughter crawl into bed with her, I would say to her, it's not your business. She loves her father. This is her father's significant other. I don't like significant others. I think you should be either married or not. But it's the 21st century. I'm coming into the 21st century. It's not your business. And I say the same thing to you. It's not your business.
I respectfully disagree.
Well, I don't give a rat's behind, sir. That's why I sit here. That's why I sit here, and I have been in this business for 40 years.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
40 years, and I'm telling you, you gotta let go of it. Now, I want you to tell me what you meant when you said the game is over.
I meant that for the last 2 years, she's been putting my daughter in situations where my daughter has no business being involved with.
Your Honor, I'm a school teacher. I'm a
Listen to me.
kindergarten teacher.
Listen to me.
The
Listen
fact
to
that
me.
she moved in with a man and
wanna-
didn't know, that says a lot.
Listen to me. I'm getting the gist of it.
Okay.
I want to know what he said to you that inspired you to file for a protective order.
The private investigator I found alarming.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking somebody's following me around. And
Private investigator, he's allowed to hire a private
Right.
investigator if he wants to.
And then I get phone messages as well as phone calls, calling me names.
You say that in your answer that you saved those.
Yes.
I'd like to hear them. Give it to Bird, please.
That's it.
Okay, so you have one
I mean,
message.
I have to
right?
message after message after message, but that was the one that I thought pretty much wrapped up his anger is about the child support.
Well, yeah, so he called you a foul name.
Right.
Called
And
you a foul
I
name.
would like to say
Put
that...
your hand down, madam.
I'm sorry. It's just there's been many
Put-
messages.
Listen to me. Put your
Okay.
hand down.
Okay.
If that's the worst of it, it's not terrible.
Right.
Not nice, but not terrible. Go ahead. Keep going.
It's this vibe, I would say, as a woman, that we get our intuition. He makes me feel unsafe and uncomfortable.
Can I see the application that you filled out for the protective order?
Sure, and I can also give you, I have been keeping a log of the harassment.
When did you hire a private investigator, Mr. Davis?
Actually, Your Honor, I didn't hire a private investigator. The information that I was talking about was information
not
I
it,
received from her mother and her father. They
Did
didn't
you
want...
tell, just a second, did you tell her that you had hired a private
Yes,
investigator?
ma'am, I did.
So
In
you
order-
lied to her?
Yes, I did. In order to keep her mother and her father out of distance, because they're the ones who told me this information.
What information, sir?
That basically the man that she was living with was someone she didn't know from Chicago, and moved him out here to live with her and
You're
my daughter.
talking about something that happened how many years ago, sir?
No, but yes.
How many years ago?
It happened 2 years ago, Your Honor, but everything that happened after them getting together, him taking my daughter to the restroom, him taking my daughter to the locker room of the Y and giving her a shower.
That never happened.
Yes, it did. My daughter's swim class, yes, it did. This is when I finally said, you know what?
You can't
I could not-
take a girl, and a man
Yes,
cannot take a
Miss
girl
Leathers,
into the shower.
Miss Leathers, listen to me. Listen to me. Somebody who sleeps with his daughter in a bed with his girlfriend has no basis to complain about anything.
First of all, you know, I get off at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time I get home, she's already getting up for work.
Mr. Davis, you're
just got the
backtracking,
job.
sir.
How is that?
There is no question in my mind when you told me that you have your daughter 50% of the time.
And that's not
almost
true.
46%.
46.
That's not true. It's
Miss Leathers,
25%,
Miss
Your
Leathers.
Honor.
The court order is right here.
Miss
The
Leathers,
court order is right
if
here.
you interrupt him again,
I'm sorry.
I'm throwing you out.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand.
I'm throwing you out. There's no question in my mind, Mr. Davis, that if your daughter spent either 25 or 46% of the time in your home, that she was crawling into bed with the two of you. Now, you don't consider that wrong. That's your prerogative. You keep your nose out of her business. Very, very lucky that you got rid of him.
I know.
You're very lucky that
Wow.
you're very lucky that you got rid of him because he's this kind of thick. You got him. He's yours.
And he's a very
He's
nice
yours.
man, Your
He's
Honor.
a
He's a very nice man.
He's a
This
very nice
woman
man. He
has
is a
followed me to my
controlling.
job.
You're interrupting. When he's controlling, and he doesn't see the inequality of his positions. He has to let go. He has to say, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And I have to rely on the fact that my wife, ex-wife, who is a school teacher, who teaches children, who is an educated woman, wouldn't do anything to place my daughter at risk.
But she
And
has.
he's not. So have you.
How?
I just told you how.
This is a woman I've known for years. This is a man she met on the internet who did not know.
Oh, you're an idiot.
Did not know.
We've been
You're an
together
idiot.
2.5
You know
years.
something?
She
You
did not
something?
know this
You know
man.
something? I got it. The truth is, his conduct is such that I understand why you felt threatened.
Right.
I feel that today he is unyielding and controlling, and I understand why you sought a protective order. Your case is dismissed, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. They step
Your Honor,
out.
this woman lied in her declaration. I have proof of that. She actually lied. Wow.
Done. Thank God.
She said to me over and over again that, you know, I'm a woman, I'm the custodial parent, the courts are going to believe me because I'm a woman.
He's jealous that I got remarried and that my daughter loves her stepfather.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Abrigo versus Strickland. Step forward.
Marco Abrigo is suing his children's grandmother, Christina Strickland, for the return of 2 child support payments. Christina is countersuing for the unpaid medical expenses of Marco's children.
Mr. Abrigo, it is your claim that you paid child support to the defendant who was caring for your 2 children for 5 years. And the last 2 payments that you made to her, which were deducted from your salary, I assume, were made when the children had been returned to their mother. And you want those 2 payments back. Ms. Strickland says she took care of your 2 children for 5 years. You owe her a fortune of money, and she's counterclaiming. So I have a few questions for you, sir, before I make very, very short work out of you. When did your children go to live with Miss Strickland?
2001, I believe.
What do you mean you believe? I would know the exact moment that my children were removed from my custody.
I don't know the exact date that we signed over the children, but it was towards the end. I'm going to say September of 2001.
And you signed custody over to Miss Strickland because you and their mother were neglecting them. And but for Miss Strickland, the state would have taken them. Fair statement?
No.
You just decided you had enough being a parent?
No.
What was it?
Well, the way it went down is the mother of the children and Miss Strickland were talking, and because I was going to be going away.
Going away to where? Summer camp?
I was possibly going to be incarcerated, and she would not be able to take care of the children.
Why not?
I do not know.
Were you living together at the time?
No, we were not. We were not
So
together.
what difference did it make whether you were in jail or on Mars? She was still alone taking care of the children. When were you in jail, sir? From when to when?
Basically from January of 2002 to November 2002.
And in that year, the children were with Miss Strickland.
Yes, they were.
And how much support were you sending while you were in jail?
None.
None? Who was supporting your children?
Miss Strickland.
And when did you make that year up to her?
Well, when I did get out of 2002, I didn't make it up to her financially, but through 2003 to the beginning of 2004, February, I had the kids in excess of about 200 days.
I'm talking about when you were in prison, sir. You paid nothing for the support of your 2 children.
I paid nothing.
Nothing. You got 2 jobs so you could start paying her back all the money she spent on taking care of the children. Didn't you?
No, I did not.
Well, then you've got some nerve being here. For 2 payments? Because they went to her instead of going to the mother of the children?
I'm only going by what the court is telling me to go by.
This court is telling you to go home. After I would have made you bend down and kiss her feet for taking care of your children for 5 years. So I have no idea what you're doing here. What you're doing here is nonsense. Listen, Miss Strickland.
Yes, ma'am.
But for the fact that he sued you for this nonsense, you would not be here. Is that correct?
Probably.
Probably not, because you didn't expect anything from him?
Never.
And pretty much that's exactly what you got.
Exactly. May I say something, please?
Absolutely.
My grandchildren have been living with their mom since August of 2006. He has not sent 1 penny to support those kids up until this point.
Is what she's saying correct?
Yes, it is.
Would you get him out of here? I cannot stand to look at him. Your case is
Parties are
dismissed.
excused.
That's
May
all.
step out. Thank you.
32-year-old Jessica Lager is suing former friends Brent and Nick Boots for vandalizing her vehicle during a night of heavy drinking. The defendants deny the charge.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 146 on the calendar in the matter of Lager versus Boots. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Let's have a seat.
Thank you, Bert. Miss Lager, these 2 young men used to be friends of yours, and it is your claim that some time ago they vandalized your car while they were probably drunk, acting like fools. What's your last name?
Boots.
And yours?
Boots.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers?
Yep. Yeah.
You ought to make a movie out of it. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Denelda Foley's.
That would be you?
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm old.
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a 4-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Ms. Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
I knew you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, that was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house and... Sorry. We were at her house, like, having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get-together, I could
How many
say.
people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there, and then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka.
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
Nope. Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, and she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
And didn't see Miss Lager's car?
No.
Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think they would make up that kind of story?
To make it look good for themselves?
Nah. They could have just said, you know, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make him stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight, and he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked the mirror off, but it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
She stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
She was always around anyways.
Oh.
'Cause I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich?
Yeah.
You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Can you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's gonna give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a
Miss
thief.
Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
part, yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it. Now, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember, because you were drinking a liter of vodka, what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car and photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
He didn't, nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was gonna say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her youngest son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said, no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while, they just, you know.
They'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident.
Yeah, her car was in an
previously.
accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How much
possibly.
did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff
I'll talk
happens
to you.
all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the hood of a car?
No.
Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
Yeah. No, you're erroneous.
no.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and
And the
irrelevant.
car's not even worth that much to begin with.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't
No.
like that much.
You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll be
Listen,
in the
you
ditch.
couldn't walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous and she's money hungry.
I was asking like $1,500 to begin with, and they said I was shady for asking $1,500.
They got money that they shouldn't have got.
Jessica's a thief. She took his digital camera from his girlfriend, and she walked out of the grocery store with 2 rotisserie chickens.
I'm just surprised that the boys said that they didn't do it.
It's ruining a long friendship. Not gonna talk to her.
Just make sure you trust the people, because I trusted them and they ruined my car.
He was not like that the way we were.
He was always like, you mean he's a psychopath? He's got bipolar disorder? He's 2 different personalities? You know him for a year. This is who he is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Saucedo versus Trejo. Step forward.
22-year-old Leonardo Saucedo is suing his former roommate, 23-year-old Jessica Trejo, for breaking their apartment lease.
Mr. Saucedo, this young lady was a friend of yours, and you decided to rent an apartment together.
That's correct.
You signed a one-year lease. It was a two-bedroom apartment, from what I gather. You moved in. Shortly after you moved in, she moved out.
4 months later, yes.
And you were able to terminate the lease early, but it cost you several $1,000s. And you believe that because she moved out without any good cause, that she should be responsible for the early termination fees on the lease.
That's correct.
I've tried and tried to find the defense that is in Ms. Trejo's answer, and the best I can figure out is you were playing your radio too loud.
No, that's not true.
I don't know what her defense is. When did you move into this apartment, Mr. Saucedo?
We moved there September 2006.
And how long had you known the defendant before you decided to be roommates?
About a year. I had met her on MySpace.
You didn't have a romantic relationship?
We did prior to moving in. We were talking, kind of dating, but we ended that before we moved in because we didn't want to have conflict with each other.
And did that work out okay?
There was one occasion. Something happened, but that's it.
Everything else was...
Everything else was
she
perfect.
stayed in her room and you stayed in your room?
Exactly, yes. No problems. We both respect each other's space.
When did you move out?
February 2007.
Why?
Because I felt like I was not in a good environment, because he would have his music all loud. I would work 13 hours a day, 6 days out of the week, and my job is very serious.
What kind of job do you have?
I'm a laboratory technician.
Yeah?
And pretty much I have to get my sleep in order for me to do my bone marrow slides and whatever I do. And he would bring girls over to the house, always playing the music loud, and I could never get my sleep. I would come home 11 o'clock at night from work, and I would shut my door, try to go to sleep. I couldn't. There was always things slamming doors, slamming cabinets, and there was no way of me getting my sleep.
That's not true.
I would be going to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
So that's your defense. Your defense was that he played the music too loud.
Not only that, Your Honor.
Well, then get to something more meaningful, madam.
Okay, another thing was we did have a sexual relation while we were living together. We did.
And?
And another thing was he owed a lot of money to me before we moved in. And, like, the money that he owed me and, like, the music and all that he was always playing. And not only that, but the foul language and the sex he was having with other girls. And I would always bring my friends over, which it was a 14-year-old daughter from my best friends.
Yeah.
And they would come over and come and visit me. And when they would come and visit me, it was at the wrong time, to the point that he would be having sex and the 14-year-old girl would be listening to that.
It's not true.
I'm still waiting for a legal reason for you moving out and breaking your lease.
Because it was not an environment for me to be in.
Should have thought of that before you signed the lease.
He was not like that the way we were.
He was always like, you mean he's a psychopath? He's got bipolar disorder? He's two different personalities? You know him for a year. This is who he is.
Yes, but before that, when we moved in together, he was not the way he was before.
So?
It was a whole totally different person.
So what you do is, since you work 12 hours a day, you say, listen, I'm going to stay in this apartment. You leave. I'll take over the lease. But I'm not happy with living with you here. You just don't leave.
I did tell him that. I gave him my 30-day notice.
You can't give him 30-day notice. You have a one-year lease. How can you give him 30-day notice? Tell him I'm leaving. Goodbye. I'm giving you 30 days.
I did give him a 30-day notice. Plus, not only that, but I just felt like I couldn't be in the apartment anymore. It was affecting with my job.
So I just told you what you should have done. You should have said to him, I think you have to move out because we're not getting along.
I told him that we needed to move out.
Not we.
And
not we. He.
Okay, well, I did not want it to be there no longer either.
Why? No, now
I was going to pay whatever was the rest on the lease.
Yes.
Okay? Now, he decided not to leave from there because he didn't want to live with his grandparents anymore.
You're double-talking, Ms. Trejo. You're double-talking.
He did not want to live with his grandparents.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. Why didn't you say to him, I can't stand your music. I can't stand your social life. Please, you move out and I'll stay in the apartment, or you stay in the apartment, I'll move out. If you can't get another roommate, I'll pay the rent or the early termination fees.
We did have a communication in that. And sometimes I wouldn't be able to have a communication with him because of my overtime and the hours I was working. So I would leave a note to him, letting him know the problems that it would affect me in my environment, me being there. So.
You can't act like a baby. You can't pack up your suitcase and leave when you have a lease, when you have an obligation. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Where did you go when you left him?
I had went back.
I don't want you to think about where you went. I want you to just tell me where you went.
To my mom's house.
That's an answer. And are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And you don't pay rent?
Yes, I do.
How much rent do you pay?
$500.
I don't believe you. How's that? I don't believe you. I think that you're a slick talker. But I think you did the wrong thing with regard to this young man. You have no valid reason that you moved out of that apartment. None. The radio was too loud? Tell him to turn the radio down. You wrote him letters? Let me see the letters. I assume you kept a copy.
No, I didn't.
Well, of course not, because it's a lot of baloney. You don't like him having women in the apartment? That was your arrangement. Your arrangement was you were moving in as friends. That's why you moved into a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a 1-bedroom apartment. How much did you pay in fees to terminate the lease?
In total, I paid $4,145, but I'm only suing for $3,080 because I'm paying for my half of the rent for the 2 months.
Let me see your figures, please. How many months did you stay there, Mr. Saucedo, after she moved out?
The first week of March was my last week there.
And where did you go?
Back to my grandma's house.
How old are you?
22.
And you?
23.
That's where you belong. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,080. That's all. Step out.
You may step out.
Steve Ramirez is suing his former live-in girlfriend, Jennifer Flynn, for the return of his belongings after she kicked him out of the home.
All rise. It's case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Ramirez versus Flynn. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Ramirez, you and the defendant dated and, I gather, lived together for a brief period of time. You had one child with you at the time?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she, after an argument, threw you out with your child and kept your property. The defendant says that when you left, you owed her some money, and instead of the money, you said to her, just keep my stuff. I don't want it. You know, sell it. She's also counterclaiming because she says you assaulted her. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in with Miss Flynn, Mr. Ramirez?
She moved in with me about 4 months after we met to my home that I was renting.
In what year was that you moved in together?
This year.
2007.
2005.
When was it?
2005.
And when did you move into the apartment that you left?
We moved in at the end of July of 2006.
And you have one child. How old is that child?
She's 8.
And you have custody of her?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you left, sir.
Well, when she kicked me out, me and my daughter, she just kicked me and my daughter out.
Well, tell me about that day.
Well, we were talking, and I have an invention.
You have an invention?
Yes, ma'am, that me and my brother came up with. And Miss Flynn stated that she wanted 10% of something that doesn't exist. And I said, no, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? So that's where it started, and that upset her, like, just totally upset her. And she said, what? And I said, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? I can't.
What do you mean you don't even have? You had an invention, you just told me.
Well, yes, ma'am, but it's just in the process now. I haven't...
Well, I assume that what she was saying is that in exchange for whatever financial contribution she was making, were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were both working?
Yes.
Well, I assume she was saying that because you lived together as a couple, she wanted 10% if anything happens with this invention. And you said, no, I don't think you're entitled to that. So you're entitled to say that to her, Mr. Ramirez. If she wants 10% or 50%, then you got to get married. Then that's what the state does. The state says, well, then property becomes community property or joint property. But you're not married, she's not entitled to anything. So you're absolutely within your rights to say, I don't want to give you 10%. Is that when she threw you out?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
Get out of my house. You and your daughter can get out of my house.
And is that what you did? You left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left your things?
Yes, ma'am.
What things did you leave there?
I have a list of things, numerous things.
They better be big items, sir, because I don't get involved with saucepans and dishes.
That's just some of the things. That's not the personal belongings, like pictures and...
I'm going to cross certain things out here, Mr. Ramirez, that I think are ridiculous. Charbroiled barbecue with 2 propane tanks. Prairie dining. Did you purchase all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you purchase them while you and the defendant were living together?
No, ma'am. Prior.
You had these things?
Everything on that list is prior to our relationship.
Let us take a look at this. Are any of those things that you purchased while you were living together?
Probably some DVDs and CDs.
Other than that, those are all his things, correct?
Yeah.
You have to return them to him. All of them. Do you understand?
Oh, there's no neon picture.
Okay, cross it off.
There is a neon picture, Your Honor.
Cross it off. Okay, good. Inconsequential, all of those things within 5 days, sir. You arranged to have the movers there to pick them up. Isn't that nice?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You say he owes you money.
Yes.
And he assaulted you. Go.
Actually, the alleged invention that he has is something that my doctor asked him to make, and I actually have a picture of it.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's why I had asked him for 10% of his alleged
You're entitled
invention.
to ask.
So
he's entitled to say no.
my counterclaim is what he owes me when he was not working for October, November, and December.
You were not working October, November, December?
October and November, Your Honor.
And December. Well,
just a second. Were you working in December, sir?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't contribute to the household for those 3 months?
No.
So how much money do you owe her?
I don't feel I owe her anything.
Why not?
That's the way relationships work, Your Honor.
Why, did she work all the time?
No, she doesn't work.
She doesn't work at all?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I receive disability and Social Security.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have a blood condition that affects my ankles to where I get a lot of blood clots, and I'm in the hospital a lot. I get a lot of infections.
So you were supporting the household and paying the mortgage on your Social Security disability?
And child support.
You have children?
I have one child.
How old?
9. Also,
Just a second. Was your arrangement when you moved in that you would pay half the mortgage, sir?
No, ma'am.
What was your arrangement?
Just that we're going to move in together and help each other out as a relationship does.
No. How did you handle the finances, Mr. Ramirez?
Well, I was working prior, and then I just...
When you were working prior, how did you handle the finances?
We just share them.
How did it work? You came home and you all both deposited checks into a joint account?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did it work? I want to know.
I would hand her cash and pay the bills.
How much?
It just depended on how much the bills were at the time.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
How much would you hand her each month?
Maybe $1,200.
Each month?
No, not each month.
Well, that's
When
what
I
I'm
could.
asking you, sir. You don't play with me. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Ramirez, you owe her $1,800. What else?
He also owes me for his vehicle insurance from May to January, which I do have invoices for.
Just a second. Why did you pay in May? He was working in May.
Because I had added him to my insurance because he couldn't get it on his own. And with the money that he was giving
No, my
me-
darling. Listen to me. In May, he was working, so he was giving you money. In May, June, July, August, he was working. He was giving you money.
Not
you
enough.
Paid who cares? That's not something I'm getting involved with. So far, he owes you $1,800, period.
Okay.
What's next?
So he owes me then $120 for vehicle insurance for October, November, and December, ma'am, when he was not working.
October, November, and December. You had a car?
Yes, ma'am.
She was paying the insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you weren't paying
Helping.
anything?
And
But-
January.
Just, you weren't paying anything?
Not a penny.
Okay. How much a month?
$40 a month.
Okay. So it was 3 months or 4 months?
4.
160. What's next?
The satellite dish was a household bill.
Forget it. You still have the satellite dish, no?
I still have it.
Keep going.
I'm also countersuing for the assault.
Well, let me hear about the assault.
Okay. One night I was just in my house, in my room with my friend.
When?
Approximately the 14th of January.
After he had left?
After he had left. He came back into my house. He still had a key because his stuff was there, so I didn't change the locks. I changed my alarm code. I thought that was good enough. He came in anyhow. I had my room closed. When I opened my bedroom door to see who had come in, he was already right there. And he asked me
What were you doing there?
I went to pack my daughter's things in her room so I can...
Did you call her first?
No.
Why not?
I have a key.
You have no right to do that. You're not a tenant there. You hadn't paid rent. You have no right to go in.
When I received my first check, after I got my job, I handed her my first check.
No.
What date?
You didn't.
What date?
Like January, first week of February.
You mean after you moved out, you handed her a check?
No, Your Honor.
Baloney, Mr. Ramirez. Baloney. You had no right being there. None. So what happened?
He said, "Who's in there?" And I told him, "None of your business." He pushed the door open like this, and the door hit me in my face because I was on the other side of the door. I proceeded to push the door and tell him that he wasn't going to come in, that it was none of his business. And with his strength, he pushed me into a dresser that I had by the door, which bruised my arm.
Why did you do that, sir?
I did
I
not, Your
have
Honor.
pictures of my lip where the door busted my
Can
lip.
I see it, please?
And my witness was in my room. When he saw that it was just My friend Diana, he left. I told him I was calling the police. I had the police on the phone, and
Temper,
I
Mr.
also
Ramirez.
have a statement from
Temper, Mr. Ramirez. Ever been arrested?
Yes.
Domestic violence?
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself, sir? There's no question in my mind that you entered the house, that was a trespass, and if you assaulted her, that rises to the level of burglary. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me, did you lose your temper?
No, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what you did. There's no question that you hurt her.
I entered the room, the house, and intent to gather my daughter's things from her room and some of my belongings. And then she came out. She said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Get out of my house." I handed her the key, and I left.
No. Didn't push the door open?
No, Your Honor.
Didn't push the door?
No.
Didn't cut her lip?
No.
You have a police report?
No, ma'am, I didn't let the police come. So, but he was not there to get his daughter things. He called me later after he left and said, "Why did you do that? I just wanted to sit down and hang out with you and talk. I thought we could talk." And I said, "Why would you think that?"
He doesn't think that you're allowed to say no.
Well, I am saying no.
Yes.
And,
I think maybe
yeah.
he gets that now. Want to step up? Tell me your last name.
Kalish.
Ms. Kalish, you were there on the evening that Mr. Ramirez came into the house?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We were in her room just watching TV, and we heard the front door open. She got up to see who entered the house, and before she got to the door, he was already standing there. She opened the door, and he pushed the door open and pushed her.
Did you say anything about calling the police?
She did call the police. I was there. She
And what
called
happened?
the police, telling them that he had came in the house without permission, but the police didn't show up.
They never showed up?
Well, she didn't want them to come over.
Why?
The calls can take an hour to 2 or 3 hours, and I didn't want to waste their time. He was already gone. I felt safe in the house, and I knew that I could just call back.
Why is this picture dated February 9th?
Because that's when I printed the picture, and my digital camera, once I changed the batteries, the date doesn't set. So I have a digital camera. I have the camera with me. I didn't print the
Did you
photos.
seek any medical treatment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe her $1,960. Do you understand? And you can go pick up your stuff within 5 days, the stuff that's on this list. Don't go back and bother her anymore. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Do you understand?
It's mutual.
It's finished. Over. Got it?
Mutual.
Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He messed up. I mean, he had a good relationship. He had a really good thing, and he doesn't have it anymore.
She kicked us out into the snow, actually, where I didn't have no vehicle, no money, no cell phone.
It wasn't snowing.
Me and my daughter had to ride our bike over a mile to the gas station so I can call somebody to pick us up.
They didn't go out to the street. I mean, he went to his brother's house.
She's just a mean person.
He chose to make out of himself while his daughter was there.
I told her I didn't love her unconditionally, and she just went ballistic.
I don't feel bad about that at all.
She can move on, and I can move on, and go on with our lives.
I hope so.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Maffett versus Simmons. Step forward.
Rachel Maffett is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brad Simmons, for unpaid rent and bills while they lived together. Brad claims he owes her nothing.
Ah, Bird, I really am so glad I don't use this internet thing. Miss Maffett, you met the defendant on something called MySpace.
Yes.
Which is on the internet where people go to meet each other rather than, meeting each other for a cup of coffee or whatever. You exchange information. And you knew him for a brief period of time, and he moved in.
Yes, he asked to move in.
And it is your claim that while he was there, he paid no rent and bills. He owes you $2,000 for the time that he lived with you. Mr. Simmons says that there was never a financial agreement when he moved in. It was only when he left, unceremoniously, according to Miss Maffett. You left her a note?
No, ma'am.
What did you do?
I packed up all my stuff while she was gone because of the fact that she was a little unstable. I didn't feel comfortable staying there. I packed all my stuff, so I headed out of there, and then I went back to the house and waited for her to come home. And then I told her face to face.
Oh, okay. Well, not as bad as I thought.
Your Honor, I do have a note.
You do have a note?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the note. When did you get the note?
When I came home and found all of his stuff gone from the house.
The note was only...
Okay. So you write this letter because you believed she was involved with a couple of other people at the same time she was involved with you. It's a very hurt letter, and you say, I can't talk to you right now. You want to communicate with me through MySpace because you're too hurt. You couldn't trust her. Okay, got it. When did you move in, Mr. Simmons?
It was sometime before Christmas. I don't know the exact date.
You remember the date?
I do not. It was probably after 3 or 4 dates, though.
Sometime in mid-December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of 06. And you moved in at her invitation.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move out?
I moved out, it was the first week of February.
So let's say
It was before Valentine's Day.
You remember when he moved out?
It was before Valentine's Day, but he was over at my house probably 5 days a week. After that, he promised that we would get back together, and
so he lived
still
with
loved
you
me.
maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
That is untrue. I did not go after.
Did anybody live with you before, Miss Maffett?
Not in that apartment, no.
Has anybody lived with you since?
No.
So you weren't looking for somebody to share the bills with?
No, I was not.
So what money do you think he owes you? For the
he owes
6
me-
weeks that he was there?
He lived there for probably 8 weeks, and
6 weeks. Keep going.
And he did say that he would pay for half of the bills. He actually asked me if he could live with me. He says that he thinks it may be the L word, and so that he wanted to come live with me because his family was unstable, and he said that his father was beating him.
That is untrue, Your Honor.
Listen to me. He left. You have no downside.
Well, I paid for all of the food. He eats probably enough for 3 people a day.
Yeah.
And he did promise me to pay $2,000 from a bonus that he was going to be getting from his new job. And every time I would go to pay bills, he would say, oh, no, it's okay, you're going to get that other money, so we can do this instead and have fun and eat out and things like that. So I did spend money on things that I normally wouldn't have if I were living alone. I work 2 jobs, and I am trying to finish school, so I'm just barely eking by.
Mr. Simmons says he gave you $500 while he was there.
He gave me $300 when he first moved in, which we promptly used on food and going out to eat.
Was it 3 or 5?
It was $500. I gave her $300 when I moved in, like she said, and then at another point, about 2 days before we broke up, we went out to eat with my uncle at Johnny's Pizza, and I gave her another $200. There was never agreement. I was just trying to
I
be
believe
nice.
you that you gave her $500. Do you feel, Mr. Simmons, as if you owe her any money?
No, ma'am.
Was there ever an agreement for you to pay rent there?
No, ma'am. When I moved out, I figured the $500 I gave her, plus I maintained the upkeep of the house, and I cooked. So I feel that's...
You don't get credit for that.
I feel that the money that I gave her at the time that I was there was
You gave her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your rent, by the way?
My rent is $580 a month.
He's paid you enough, Miss Maffett.
Judge Judy, I actually have an email here stating that he was going to give me the $2,000.
Oh, then I'll see it.
I never sent an email. She did have access to my email password.
No, I did not.
Just a
because it
second.
was saved on her computer.
Just a second.
Judge, I also have emails saying that he would lie in court, that he admitted to lying in court. He admitted to cheating on me with men.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Oh, listen, I'm not
that
interested
he
in
wasn't working
I'm
when
not
he was
interested in that. It
working.
has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is whether or not you just refuse to put a period and say, made a mistake, shouldn't have invited this guy in to live with me after knowing him for just 4 dates. You have no downside. He gave you $500. He was there for 6 weeks, and I'm not sure that you wrote this thing yourself. Case is dismissed, Miss Maffett. Put a period. It's over. Goodbye.
You may step out.
27-year-old Nathan Heater is suing his ex-girlfriend, 23-year-old Rebecca Titus, for having him falsely arrested for domestic violence. Rebecca says Nathan slapped her in the face twice.
All rise. Now, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Heater versus Titus. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Heater, the defendant used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she had you falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
Ms. Titus says that she did call the police. She had you arrested for domestic violence, and that's because you hit her. Correct?
Yes.
This incident happened on what date?
July 28th.
Now, Ms. Titus, I am correct that at one point in your relationship, you found yourself pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And you told Mr. Heater that he was the father of this baby and that you miscarried. Is that what
ma'am.
happened? But it turned out that he was not the father of this child.
It could have not been his.
Right. And then you renewed your relationship again briefly. But that's all it takes, Mr. Heater. A brief moment of stupidity, and Miss Titus told you she was pregnant again. And according to you, you said, listen, I didn't know about last time, I don't know about this time. I don't want to have anything to do with this baby until I take a paternity test.
Actually, what I told her was that I would help her out as long as I would be repaid if the baby was not mine.
You didn't discuss that with me first. I would have told you that that was a very bad idea. However, on the evening of the 28th of July, according to you, and according to Miss Titus, she called you and wanted to come over to talk.
Actually, he called me.
Yes.
What did you call her for?
I thought that she had a doctor's appointment regarding the baby the previous day, and I just called to see how it went.
And what did Miss Titus tell you?
She said that I was wrong about the date, that I believe it was the next day, and that she would like to come over and speak to me. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. We speak face-to-face, that we should speak over the phone. And she said that she didn't want to speak over the phone.
So Mr. Heater told you not to come over.
Well,
you
no.
acknowledge that. He said he didn't want to talk to you in person.
He said that he didn't want to talk to me, but eventually said that it was okay for me to come over.
Did you tell her it was okay to
No,
come
I
over?
did not.
No, I don't believe that. It's not what you say in your answer, and I don't believe that. He said he didn't want to talk to you in person. He thought you should discuss whatever you had to discuss over the phone. But you went over there anyway. What time did you go over there?
About 12:30 in the afternoon.
What did you want to discuss with him?
I wanted to talk to him about the baby and about how things were going between us. We were, before this, we were going out and doing things together and, like...
Don't you people know anything about birth control?
Yes, they don't work for me.
They don't work for you?
Yes. My body rejects them.
There are all kinds of birth control, Ms. Titus.
Yes, ma'am.
The answer to having a problem with one form of birth control is not to have babies with people who don't want to have children with you, like Mr. Heater or anybody else. So you went over there about 12:30.
I knocked at the door, and he told me to come in, and we started talking, and I upset him. And
how did you upset him?
I don't remember exactly what I said.
Maybe you
to
do.
him.
If you don't remember, maybe he does. What happened, Mr.
I
Heater?
was upset before she came into the house because I told her not to.
Come over.
And she started screaming through my door at me.
What was she saying?
You have to live up to your responsibilities. You can't create a situation and then not take care of it.
That doesn't sound welcoming, Miss Titus.
That never happened at all.
Go ahead.
So, to save myself from embarrassment from my neighbors, and I did open the door for her to try to...
So you let her in?
Yeah.
And what happened when she came inside?
It just continued on the same thing in there. You have to take care of this. And, you know, I was trying to tell her I'm doing the best I can with this. I don't really know how to deal with this situation. Everything's so bad. I don't know what to do except for what I am doing, and that wasn't good enough for her. And for 30 or 45 minutes, she followed me around my house with me telling her to leave over and over and over again. She would not leave my house. And eventually I was in the kitchen sorting my dishes, and she came in and was pointing her finger at me, yelling at me in there, telling me the same thing, that I had to deal with my responsibilities. At that point, I took her by the hand that she was pointing at me with and just turned her around facing the kitchen door. And I had hold of her elbows with my body pressed against her back and was just walking her towards the door. I was like, you need to leave now. And she grabbed onto the kitchen doorway and started pressing back against me. And when I finally backed off of her and she let go of the door, she turned around and grabbed my hand like this, and then she smacked me in the face and said I had no right to touch her. And as a reaction, my hand came back around too.
So you hit her?
Yeah, regrettably I did come back around. She went off towards what I thought was the front door, but as I was in the kitchen, I heard her dialing my phone. She told me then that she called the police.
Do you have a copy of the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Who is this gentleman, Mr. Heater?
This is my friend, Jason Hubbard.
Was he a witness to what happened on the 28th of July?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Okay, Miss Titus, tell me what happened, your version of what happened when you got into the house.
When I came into the house, we sat down on the couch and started to talk. At first, things were okay. Then I started talking about the baby and about this new girl that he's dating and how that her not liking me around is the real reason why he's not wanting to have anything to do with the baby. Then he got upset and told me to leave, and I told him no, he can't just end the conversation anytime he wants
he can.
to.
He can tell you to leave his house. Go ahead.
I followed him around the house and was still talking to him, and we ended up in the kitchen, and I had said something about this girl he's dating, his girlfriend, and he doesn't like me to refer to her as that, so that made him really upset. And he came and he grabbed me by my arms and started to escort me through the door. And I stopped myself, told him he didn't have any right to put his hands on me at all.
Yes, he did.
Not according to...
Oh, yes, you did. Once he tells you that he wants you to leave his house and you remain there, you're trespassing. That's a crime. Next.
Well, according to...
Don't tell me according to anybody. You tell according to a police officer. I've had 10 years of postgraduate legal education. When you're in somebody's house and you're an invited guest, first of all, you weren't an invited guest
But
in
I
this
was
house. I'm
invited.
speaking. You weren't an invited guest. You were told not to come. You came anyway. He tried to avoid you and said, please leave. Once he told you to leave his house and you refused, you become a trespasser.
Well, another reason
Now-
I didn't leave is because in previous arguments that we've had, he's asked me to leave, and then 10 minutes later, he'll call me and tell me come back over.
Well, you just have to guess his mood then. Right now, he told you to leave, and you didn't leave. So he put his hands on you to escort you out. And what did you do?
I was pushing back against him, like you said, and I turned around, and he still had a hold of me when I smacked him in his face.
Right, so you smacked him in his face first.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he slapped you.
Twice.
Twice. You slapped him the first time, he slapped you twice. It's amazing to me that the police arrested you, sir. Absolutely amazing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have no right to lie to the police, because it was a lie, but you told the police that he pushed you in your stomach while you were pregnant. That's not what he did at all, because that's not what you told me happened.
And later today,
I asked her, what is he doing here? Why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning if he's here?
He started running his mouth. Me and him got into a fight.
He came with a pipe of some sort, then smashed out the back window.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nathan Heater says ex-girlfriend Rebecca Titus had him falsely arrested for physically abusing her. Rebecca claims he kicked her in the stomach during her pregnancy.
Tried to get you out of the house. He's holding on to your arms. You're resisting him. Ultimately, you turn around. He's still pushing you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you slapped him.
Mm-hmm.
He slapped you then twice. Where did he slap you? In the face?
In the face.
And then he let go of you when you called the police.
Mm-hmm.
And you are there because you are pregnant.
Yes.
And you're concerned about the welfare of your baby.
Yes.
And that is the primary thing that you're concerned about, the welfare of your baby.
Yes.
So let me tell you what you told the police. Titus said that the defendant grabbed her by the arms and began to drag her out of his house, physically trying to remove her from the residence. She advised that she is pregnant with his child and that he pushed on her stomach. Was that meant to get the police really angry at him? Pregnant, he pushed on your stomach? You're full of baloney. And you had no right to have him arrested. And I'm amazed that they arrested him. He has a right to escort you out of his house if you refuse to leave. You hit him first. Did you hire a lawyer?
No, I had a public defender.
One of the things that I have to comment on is you're not too swift. If you're dating this girl and she tells you she's pregnant and it turns out it could have been you or somebody else, I wouldn't have had a wind through my head and then had intimate relations with her again, unprotected. Do we understand each other?
Completely.
Ms. Titus, you have to learn that domestic violence is a very serious crime. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you have a right to hit somebody and not expect to be hit back. And you have no right to lie to the police, because it was a lie, but you told the police that he pushed you in your stomach while you were pregnant. That's not what he did at all, because that's not what you told me happened. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad that somebody let her know that there are consequences for her actions.
I want him to be a father to the child, and pending a paternity test, I think that he will be there.
Careful who you fall in love with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Foster versus Green. Step forward.
23-year-old Nick Foster is suing his ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend, 25-year-old Derek Green, for smashing his car windows with a pipe. Derek claims Nick tried to run him over.
Where's the girlfriend?
She didn't want to come.
She couldn't make it because of work.
Didn't want to come sounds like a better answer.
Probably.
Mr. Foster, the defendant is your ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend?
Yes.
At the time, yeah.
And according to your complaint, one evening, he was drunk and disorderly and damaged your car. Mr. Green says that he might have damaged your car, but that was because you tried to run him over. So why don't you tell me this story of intrigue?
Basically, my ex-girlfriend, who I've been together with on and off for 5 years now, she called me over about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
Had you been sleeping when she called?
Trying to, no.
What were you doing?
I was getting home from a night out.
Was this a Saturday night?
It was a Thursday night.
So you were just coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning?
No, I was home probably about 2 o'clock, but she called me at 4 o'clock.
And you figured this is too good to pass up? I'm going over.
Yep.
Had you been drinking?
Earlier that night, yes.
And what happened when you got to her house?
I stayed over there for about hour and a half, and decided to leave.
Who does she live with?
She lives with her mother and her father.
How did she get you into the house?
The front door.
What happened when you left?
Her father was awake, so I decided to go out the back door. That's where I saw the defendant passed out in the backyard.
What were you doing in the backyard passed out, Mr. Green?
I was passed out there because my girlfriend had left with my buddy's girlfriend to go to the store to get cigarettes. I passed out. I wake up. He's chasing my girlfriend around.
You're getting ahead of yourself, sir. I'm asking the questions.
Nick Foster says his ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend, Derek Green, vandalized his car with a pipe. Derek claims Nick is stalking him and his girlfriend.
Where were you earlier in the evening of the 8th of September?
We were at the bar drinking, me and Jacqueline.
Jackie's the girlfriend?
Yes.
How did you get to her house?
Her car.
Who drove?
I did.
You drove the car drunk?
Yes.
And when you got there, she told you couldn't come in?
No, I was outside smoking a cigarette. I was not allowed to smoke in the house.
And you just fell asleep?
Yes.
Passed out?
Mm-hmm.
You were awakened at about what time?
Around 4 o'clock in the morning.
And tell me what you sort of remember.
So I remember seeing him chasing my girlfriend around the back patio. He ran out the back door and through the back gate.
So he went out the back door?
Yeah, after he had went in the back
Just
door.
He went out. No, you didn't see him go in.
I seen him
No,
run and
no,
chasing
you
my
know,
girlfriend.
listen to me.
All right.
Mr. Green,
Mm-hmm.
let's get it together, sir.
All right, I'm getting it together.
You didn't see him go in, correct?
Yeah.
But you saw him come out.
Yes.
You don't know what time he went in.
I don't really know what went on, to tell you the
When
truth.
you were in the house with your ex-girlfriend and the father woke up, was he angry?
He was upstairs.
What caused your girlfriend to leave the house?
I decided that I needed to leave. So she said, go out the back door. We could hear him walking upstairs. Upon doing that, that's when I noticed that he was outside. I asked her, what is he doing here? Why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning if he's here? So I guess he heard us talking outside, came downside and told us all to leave.
You mean the father?
Yes.
When he said he told you all to leave, what did he say to you?
He said, everyone leave.
That was nice. I would have probably phrased it differently. So what did you do, Mr. Green?
I left.
Well, how did you come in contact with Mr. Foster's car?
After I had walked up the street, he come following me up the street. Me and him got into a fight.
How
stopped.
did you get into a fight? Explain
He got
that.
out his car. He started running his mouth. Me and him got into a fight, started walking across the street. Then he got back into his car, come across the street, tried to run me over. I had to jump out of the way, and I threw a rock at his back window and busted his window out.
Why did you throw a rock at his back window?
It's an ongoing thing with him. It's, you know, he's been stalking us.
I'm asking you, what did the rock have to do with this altercation that you had?
He tried to run me over. He tried to kill me.
Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
What he said was correct to a point. Yes, we did get into a fight, and I got out of my car to run my mouth because he kicked us out of my car. His friends came over and separated us.
Where were your friends? What are all these people doing at 5 o'clock in the morning?
He woke him
They're
up.
not my friends.
We woke him up arguing, and they were right across the street.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
I'm 25.
It's not even the youth of America. Yes, go ahead. So,
Well, when you're standing in the middle of the street as I'm trying to leave, yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
with your car?
Well, yeah, if I'm driving in the middle of the street, he's in the middle of the street, then yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
Yeah, go ahead.
He came after me as I pulled over. He came with a pipe of some sort, smashed the side of my car on the driver's door, then the back door, then smashed out the back window.
Does that sound right, Mr. Green?
No.
Well, how did all the windows get broken on his car?
I don't know how all the windows got broken. I know I busted the back window out. I didn't bust any of the other windows out.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
The other windows were not busted out. It's the side, or the top of my car, on the side of my car, that was damaged with a pipe.
What kind of car do you have?
Grand Prix.
Ooh, no, that's a pipe. Mr. Green. That's not a rock, sir. That's pipe. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a roofing supervisor.
A what?
Roofing supervisor.
If I were spend my days up on the top of a roof, I don't think I would get as sauced as you do, sir.
I take off when I want.
That's responsible.
I pick my days.
Can I see the estimates on your car, please? Either one of you treated at any hospital or by any doctor on the night of the 8th or the 9th of September?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Treated by a doctor or a hospital?
No, it was not.
Okay, so we're not talking about any injuries to you. We're talking about two people who had been drinking a lot, right? Let me ask you a question. Did you have a fight with your ex-girlfriend that evening?
No.
Did you ask her whether or not she'd called him to come over?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say?
She said no.
But you see, that's a lie, because she let him in the house.
You know, when somebody stalks you so much, then you can only do so much.
Listen to me. If somebody's stalking, uncross your hands. If somebody's stalking you, you don't resolve his stalking by calling him at 4 o'clock in the morning to come over to the house. And you don't let him in the house, sir.
Yeah, well, he's coming to my house 2:30 in the morning.
I don't care about your house. I'm talking about the girlfriend's house, sir.
I'm not worried about that anymore.
Oh, listen, when you drink, you have to pay the piper. I don't think your girlfriend was honest with you, sir, with regard to what happened that evening. Maybe she was a little drunk, too, which is why she called Mr. Foster over. Certainly her father got fed up with all of you, told you all to leave. If he was afraid for his daughter's life, he would have taken her into the house and said, you guys get out of here because you're placing my entire family at risk. So I think that's something you really have to look into. And maybe if you had a clear head, Mr. Green, and weren't so infused with alcohol, you could look at the situation a little more clearly. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,941. Thank you.
While you're excused, you may step out.
Angela Ricker is suing her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, for falsely accusing her of vandalizing her car. Sally is countersuing for car damage and lost wages.
All rise. Now, this is case number 63 on the calendar in the matter of Ricker versus Ricker.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Ricker, this lady is your husband's, I assume this is your husband?
Yes.
Your husband's former wife?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she has been harassing you, that
Yes.
she's filed false charges against you,
Absolutely.
seeking a temporary restraining order, and you are seeking damages.
Absolutely.
The former Mrs. Ricker says that everything that she said in her application for a restraining order is true. She is counterclaiming for harassment and for vandalism that she alleges you did to her car. So, how long were you married to Mr. Ricker?
12 years.
You have children?
We have 3 children.
How old are they?
14, 12, and 7.
When were you divorced?
Our paperwork went through in 2005, but I left in 2002.
And when did you marry?
2 years ago, March 29th.
Do you have children?
No, we do not.
On what date was this restraining order filed?
I believe it was the 20th
Of
March. The alleged incident was on the 17th, which would have been St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, I'm going to start with you. Tell me your first name.
Sally.
So that we can differentiate between the Mrs. Rickers. You're Sally. Tell me what happened on March 17th.
On March 17th, I was at an establishment near where I work. My car was parked.
What
in the parking lot.
establishment were you near where you worked?
I was at a nail salon called Tammy's Salon.
Okay.
And I'm looking out the window. I happen to look out and I see both Tyler and Angela drive up, and I'm
What
shocked.
time?
It was about 2:30. I saw Tyler get out of the car, and then I saw Angela get out of the passenger side door, and together they hurriedly sort of walked into my place of employment.
What is the name of your place of employment?
I work at Trader Joe's. I happened to be off this day.
So you were off on March 17th?
I was.
How far is your place of employment from where you live?
4 miles across town.
Did you have an appointment for your nails?
No.
What was the name of the person who did your nails?
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. She's an Asian woman, and I don't know her name.
Does she usually do your nails?
No, I walk in.
So you don't go to any particular person?
Not at that place, no.
Is there any reason why you went to that place on that day, despite the fact that you weren't working that day?
I had some time to myself as I'm still parenting my 3 children. I don't get a lot of time away.
Yeah, but this place is cross town. Why would you go cross town unless you have a particular nail lady who does your nails and had an appointment rather than walking into some place that's closer and not cross town?
Well, it's inexpensive. I had a few hours to go do my nails and get some groceries and go home.
Where were you getting your groceries?
At Trader Joe's.
Did you actually go into Trader Joe's?
No, I decided not to go in.
Go ahead, Sally.
So?
Go ahead. I'm listening. So they went into Trader Joe's, and you were having your nails done by a person whose name you don't know, and you just happened to be looking out the window. Let me hear the rest.
Yes, so they continued to walk in, and they asked for me while they were in the store. And
How do you know that?
Because I had a conversation with my son. I called my son after I saw them.
Just a second. You called your son where?
I called my son from my cell phone.
And where was he?
He was at his grandmother's house. And I asked them if he had heard from his dad that day, because we haven't heard or seen from Tyler in 9 months. And so I called my son to see if he had heard from his dad this day to find out why he would be in town. And he said, yes, he was there with Angela, and they were looking for you at the store.
What's your son's name?
My son's name is Aaron.
How old is he?
He's 14.
Stand up, sir. Did you call your son that day, Mr. Richter?
I did.
Where did you reach him?
I
On his
reached
cell
him
phone?
Yes, on his cell phone. He was at my parents' house.
At your parents' house?
Yes.
And did you ask him where his mother was?
I asked if his mother was at work.
Why?
Because I had part of his birthday present to give to him.
Which part?
A credit card that had come in the mail after his birthday.
Did you see him that day?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because he was at my parents' house.
Are you not allowed to be there?
It's not a comfortable place for me to be, but I'm allowed to be there.
Well, if you wanted to give him a credit card, why did you ask where his mother was?
I was going to give it to her if she was there.
So did you end up giving him his birthday present?
I did not.
Why not?
I was told she was not there.
Did you go into Trader Vic's?
Trader Joe's?
Trader
yes.
Joe's?
Yes, I did go into Trader
Vic's,
Joe's.
Trader Joe's, Trader. What?
Had a cup of coffee, and my wife and I did a little bit of shopping.
On the 17th of March, how long had it been since you'd seen your son?
I had seen him on his birthday, which was 1 month prior to that.
Where did you see him?
I saw him in Pleasanton at his mother's house.
Spent some time with him?
Yeah.
Why did you say he hadn't seen the children for 9 months?
Prior to that, Tyler had left Angela.
Listen to me. You told me that he hadn't seen the children for 9 months. He said he saw his son in February, a month before. Well, which is true.
He did not come to our house.
I didn't care whether he came to your house or not. I don't care whether he saw the children at McDonald's. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
I asked you a question. Did he see his son in February?
He did not see his son on his birthday.
Did he see his son in February of 2007?
He did not see his son on February 15th.
I didn't ask you about February 15th. I said, did he see his son in February?
No, he did not see his son in February.
I don't believe you.
He saw his son on March 28th when he left his wife Angela and came into town for a few days.
Are you on medication?
No, I am not.
There is no question in my mind that he saw his son in February, a month before the March incident. So when I asked you the question 4 times, you gave me an evasive answer. 4 times. Now I'm asking you one more time. It's very easy for me to find out. All I have to do is call Aaron. Did he see Aaron in February, anywhere, at any time during the month of February of 2007?
I'm telling you that he did not see his son in February. I would have known that because we were together. If he saw his son, it could have been at school.
Where did you see him in February?
I saw him the weekend before his birthday. I had a hotel room in Pleasanton at Extended Stay Hotels. His mother dropped them off there, all 3 of my children.
All 3 children?
Yes, they stayed with me for the entire weekend, including Monday, which was a holiday. Then I saw them later at her house in February.
Of 2007.
And I was there on his birthday.
February 2007.
Yes.
Let's go, Sally.
That is not true.
That
is not true.
Just a second. You want me to call Aaron? Very simple to find out. He has a cell phone?
Yes, he does.
You want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? Do you want to change your mind before I call him on his cell phone? I hate to get him involved in this, but I'm prepared to do it because it's very important to me.
It's important to me to be able to speak as well. So
I asked you a question. Did he see his children in February of 2007. And I'm
Yes.
going to be able to
Yes.
find that out either through you or through Aaron, who I will reach on his cell phone.
On February 27th, yes. In February, Tyler saw Aaron.
Fine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You say Angela goes on and off her medication for schizophrenia.
She knows nothing about schizophrenia.
You ever been diagnosed as schizophrenic?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Angela Ricker claims her husband's ex-wife, Sally Ricker, falsely accused her of vandalizing her car. Sally is countersuing for car damage and lost wages.
Okay, now you're going to tell me that you saw Angela vandalize your car.
Yes, I did.
Is that you're going to continue? Let's go.
So on the way back out to the car, I was watching Angela as she had circled my car, and she started by standing and waiting for me, and then I saw her come around all 4 circles of my car with sort of a dragging movement with her arms swiping. And when I saw her out there, I had no idea what she could have been doing to my car. I knew that she may have been...
Don't tell me what you thought. I don't care what you thought.
Okay.
You have pictures of your car and you have a police report.
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
These are the 2 that printed out. And then this is the police report. It spans all 4 doors of my car. Unfortunately, there are only 2 pictures that showed up.
Did you scratch our car?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened when you left Trader Joe's.
We got into the car and we went home. We were going to my grandmother's. When I go from San Leandro to Stockton, where my family is, we usually stop at that Trader Joe's. It's right off the highway. It's very convenient for me. After all of this happened, it ruined my trip and I went home. I was devastated. I was very angry.
What do you mean after all of this happened? What
Well,
happened?
she told Aaron on the phone that I had done this to her car, you know, involved a 14-year-old in this. It just really, it hit. And then when I got accused of this and a police report was put out, brought into court.
Can I see the underlying paperwork, please,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
went along with her application for a restraining order?
Yes, ma'am. Since we've established that, most of that is fallacious. It's false.
That
She
is not
knows
true.
nothing about bipolarity nor schizophrenia.
Okay. And in your application for an order of protection, which is, I assume, written in your own hand, you say Angela came to my place of work unannounced, and she later called my son and verbally abused him. Did you speak to Aaron later?
I did speak to Aaron.
Tell me what happened when you spoke to him.
I spoke to him and I asked him why he was saying those things to
Saying
his
what
father.
things?
That I had vandalized the car, that I'd gone into her work looking for her, harassing, stalking, using those words. Aaron and I have never had any problems. I haven't seen the children in almost a year because of this behavior. I've refused to allow them in my home when I'm there.
Why?
Because of her. She debriefs them every time they go home. It's a drama from Friday to Sunday. Phone calls. It's just never a drop-off pickup. It's always something. And I couldn't handle it. Our marriage has been in jeopardy for almost 2 years because of this.
In your application for a restraining order,
Yes.
you say Angela is explosive
Yes.
and goes on and off her medication for schizophrenia and bipolar illness.
That's according to my ex-husband.
Did you ever tell her that?
Absolutely not.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
When did he tell you that she was bipolar and schizophrenic?
When he left her in February, it was February 27th, he left because they were having a domestic dispute.
Okay, so he left and in February.
In February, yes.
Go ahead.
I know I won't live that one down. I'm sorry.
You won't?
I know. I'm sorry. So, anyway, his brother brought him into town. He didn't have any money. He didn't have a job. Nothing. Brought him into town. He said he wanted to see the kids. And from that point, he had not seen the kids for 9 months, okay?
So why would you tell me that he didn't see the children in February when he did?
Well, no, because, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous today. I'm very, very sorry.
That's nervous is not an answer, madam.
was
You told me a
February-
very cogent story about everything that you allegedly saw with regard to this lady, how she stalked your car, how she bent down, how she had sweeping motions. But when I asked you a question a half a dozen times, You refuse to give me an honest answer about when your husband last saw his children.
He wasn't at my house on February 15th, which was
I
Aaron's
didn't
birthday.
ask you anything about February 15th. I didn't even know when Aaron's birthday was.
Okay.
I asked you February. You said 9 months. He said February. Wasn't until I was planning to call Aaron and find out whether he had seen his father in February that you finally said he saw him in February. Do you understand that that gives me cause to pause?
Yes.
Well, it does. Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been diagnosed as schizophrenic?
No, ma'am.
Bipolar?
No, ma'am. Your Honor, it was not February 27th that we separated. It was the beginning of the month. He was in Point Reyes. He decided to stay there with a friend at a bed and breakfast to do some work on the home. He was at her house. He called me from her house.
I understand that. Have your children spent time with the plaintiff in her home?
Yes, they have.
And they've come home in one piece?
Basically.
Not for a year.
Shh. Others to be protected. Absolutely. Angela has no discretion when she is angry. My children should never be anywhere near this person.
They have a history of domestic violence.
Was there a history of domestic violence with you?
I left.
That's just a second. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
So there was a history of domestic violence with you.
With my husband.
So I got it. And you allowed that situation to go on more than once?
Yes.
You allowed your children to remain in a situation where there was domestic violence?
I left that.
You let it go on for a long time? Do you understand, Mrs. Richter? Do you have a full-time job?
I do.
How long have you been working for the same place?
This job I have currently is 4 months.
Do you have a significant other or a husband?
No, I do not.
Are you working? Take your hands out of your pockets.
Not right now, no.
Why not? Is not an answer.
I had a job up until April 1st working on airplanes. I was let go from that job.
Up until April 1st, were you paying child support?
I was.
How much?
$411 a month was taken from my checks.
How long had you been paying the $411?
Only for a month at that point, and then there was a large gap between that point and the last time I held a job.
Well, Mr. Richter, that's unacceptable, sir.
I understand that.
Very unacceptable. No, not
I'm
unacceptable.
injured, Your Honor. I'm injured.
Very unacceptable, sir.
I do understand that. I was injured at my last job,
Yeah?
and the injury prevented me from working.
What was the last job?
The last job was working for Vortex Doors,
Yeah?
and
What year?
from June to August of 2006.
Well, that's a couple of months, sir.
I understand that. I was injured. I had a severe back injury.
So that you were out of work for 2 months.
I was out of work until I got a job in March of 2007.
Who supports you?
Workman's Comp was supposed to be, but the company that hired me is fighting all of that, and so Workman's Comp did not pay my payments. That's currently
Sir, you've been
in litigation.
You've been separated from your former wife since 2002.
Since 2002.
Since 2002, until you were injured. Just listen to me carefully. Until you were injured in June of 2006, were you regularly paying child support?
I was. I regularly paid child support when I had a job.
That's not my question. Don't play with me.
Oh, I'm not playing
You
with
two
you,
people
Your
deserve
Honor.
each other. You two people deserve each other. Not when you were working. How old are you?
I'm 40.
You have 3 children.
I understand
There is
that.
no question that you have to be employed regularly. And I don't care whether you work at McDonald's or if you don't have another job, if you work at a car wash, drying cars, if you can't do something else. You have 3 children. No wonder she's furious with you. You work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a registered nurse.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do.
So you support the family?
Yes, I do.
Right. No wonder she's furious with you. Collect cans if you have to, but you send money. And if she's angry with you, unfortunately, she took it out on the wrong person. Because I don't believe you, madam, that you saw her vandalize your car. I don't believe you. The case was dismissed, was it not?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did anybody else ask you the questions that I asked you about the name of this person who did your nails, why you traveled cross town to get your nails done? Was the person who tried this case?
No, he did not.
He did not?
No.
Because he doesn't understand that you don't travel cross town to just walk into a nail salon. You can walk into a nail salon anywhere. You don't have to travel 4 miles cross town to do that. A lot of baloney. I don't believe you. I believe that you're angry with him. And I believe that you're angry with her because she's an enabler, because she's working. He's not, at least on the books anywhere, and he's not paying support. I got that you're angry, but you can't do this. This is nonsense, and I don't believe you.
Well, I saw it happen.
No, it didn't. I think that you probably even scratched your own car. But I don't believe that she scratched your car. I don't believe that this professional woman scratched your car.
I wouldn't have done that to
No
my car.
way. No way. And when you lie to me once, I don't believe you again. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Start working, sir. That's what you're supposed to do. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Holly McLean is suing her ex-husband, Steve Reed, for his share of their daughter's wedding. Steve claims he already paid his share.
All rise. Now, this is case number 319 on the calendar in the matter of McLean versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Reed, how many children do you have, sir?
6.
Who is your oldest child?
Stephanie.
That's this child here?
Yes.
And your youngest?
Brandon.
How old is Brandon?
Brandon is 8.
You and Mrs. McLean were married for how long?
2 years, I believe.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
Your daughter is planning her wedding. And according to what I read, Mrs. McLean, you and your former husband agreed to split the cost of the wedding. You did a budget. It was going to be $5,000. Mr. Reed, you agreed to pay for half.
Correct.
You did, in fact, pay $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
But the wedding went over budget, and you want him to pay half of the overage of $800.
Yes.
And Mr. Reed says, you went over budget, girls. That's your problem. I agreed to pay for half the wedding, which was budgeted at $5,000, and that's what I'm going to pay.
I agree.
Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone...
John, listen. Did you have a nice wedding?
Yeah. Huh? She had a beautiful wedding.
Beautiful wedding, beautiful bride, beautiful husband, nice-looking parents. Don't act... What?
I said yes, thank you.
Do you let him speak at home? Is that the reason he feels compelled to speak here? Because he's not allowed to speak at home?
Don't speak, honey.
She's cute. Okay, now getting back to you. Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone over budget was we had it at the reception at a place that cost a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Now, when you realized that this was going to cost more than you anticipated, because you could have found a site that would have cost within the budget, but that's not what you really wanted, right? You wanted a different place. What did you do when you realized you were going over budget?
Well, Stephanie and I did a lot of emails back and forth because she actually lives in Utah. And I was planning the wedding here. And so I had told her that it looked like we were probably going to go over the cost of the wedding. And so she was kind of my in-between person between her dad and I, and had emailed to him and his current wife that we were going to be probably going over the budget.
Do you have an email from him indicating that's fine, I will pay half of whatever the overage is?
I do.
Let me see it.
This was actually an email to Stephanie.
That's fine. Well, this is not from Mr. Reed. This is from Mr. Reed's wife.
Right.
Do you know that your wife sent an email, sir, that said, listen, that's to Steph, and said, your dad and I don't have a problem if you go over the $5,000, some, as long as your mom is willing to split the cost. Do you know that your wife said that?
At the time that email was written, no, I wasn't aware that she said that.
When did you become aware of this?
I became aware about 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding as we discussed the overage.
So your wife was speaking allegedly for you, which she can't do, but they acted upon this and then went over their budget. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it was really in good faith that your daughter went over the budget because she felt as if she was dealing with your wife, and your wife had the authority to say, okay, as long as mom splits the cost and as long as you're not going over too much. So when you found out, Mr. Reed, about this email, what did you do?
Well, by the time I found out about the comment that my wife made, things had already become contentious because all along I had made it clear to Holly that I agreed to a certain amount. Not only that, in the beginning, Holly wanted to spend far less. I actually felt that we should spend more, and it was my suggestion to pay the $5,000. Then come
Is that
back.
true?
That's true.
That's a good guy.
So to then come back to me and then say that she wanted me to pay more money, and not only that, in the beginning, when she wanted me to pay the overage, she wanted me to pay the entire overage, which she estimated would be $300 to $400. And like I say, it became contentious, and so I said, we're going to have to settle the matter after the wedding. I don't want it to affect the wedding.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Reed. So?
So?
Well, he did not agree to pay half of the overage.
I know he did not agree to pay half. But when I had sent them an email stating why we had gone over, and he even told me on the wedding day that he would help me pay the overage of the wedding.
Did you tell her that, Mr. Reed?
What I said is that I would look at the expenses and analyze them and get back to her.
And did you look at the expenses?
I did.
Anything there look untoward to you?
The invitations cost $280 more than we had originally was discussed with my wife, Suzanne. There was a DJ that I knew nothing about, and he cost $450.
Well, DJ is great at a wedding. Did everybody have a good time?
I think so.
Did you dance?
A little bit.
I didn't say if you danced well, Mr. Reed.
Yes.
I said, did you dance?
I did.
Other than the DJ for $450, was it originally anticipated that there was any music?
There was going to be pre-recorded music. Okay.
I have very little sympathy because if what we're talking about here is $800, I would have paid the $2 so we wouldn't end up here. So there wouldn't be any bad feeling. You probably already paid so much to raise your daughter to this point, right? Probably cost you a couple of bucks over the course of, how old are you?
19.
19 years? So I don't know whether I would make a big to-do. But let's hear. All right, the DJ, what else?
Let's see, there was a video that was done that was presented at the wedding. It was a nice video. It was $210.
A video of what?
They interviewed Stephanie and Tim about the way they met and things like that. And it was shown at the wedding. Yes, it was nicely done. But once again, I knew nothing about it. The bridesmaids' outfits, traditionally the bridesmaids pay for those.
That's absolutely right. Why didn't the bridesmaids pay for their own outfits?
Well, Stephanie and I discussed that we would just take care of that.
Well, I don't know. You can't do that and obligate him. Ms. McLean, first of all, it's not traditional.
Right.
And second of all, you can't be magnanimous with his money. What else?
The last one is traditionally a portion of the flowers are paid for by the groom or the groom's family. So the portion of those flowers, I have it listed at $248.
Can I say something about the flowers? I didn't feel we should ask Tim's family to pay for the flowers. They were actually having a reception in Arizona a week later, and they were paying for everything there for that reception. And they also paid for the luncheon, so I didn't feel it was right to ask them to also pay for the flowers.
Well, very nice. What do you want from him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses?
No.
You cannot use your former husband as a cash register.
And later today,
You don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly McLean says ex-husband Steve Reed owes for his share of their daughter's wedding. Steve says Holly went over budget.
He doesn't want to be used as a cash register.
Oh, I understand.
Which is, we'll make the arrangements and you'll pay your half. And we don't have to consult with you. We're going to tell you this is what we want to do, and if it goes over, it goes over. Well, that's unreasonable.
Well, there's more to it than that.
You may explain it to me. But did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses before you agreed to pay for them?
No.
Did you call him and tell him you decided not to ask the bridegroom's family for the flowers?
Yes, we did tell them that.
When?
Before the wedding, when he had stated that they thought that the groom's family had to pay for part of the flowers.
And what did you say? You told him no.
I didn't agree with that.
Fine. That doesn't mean he's not entitled to say, that's fine. You want to pay for that? Pay for it.
Okay, but there's more to it. Where we had the reception, we actually wanted to have it at my parents' house so we could cut the costs. Well, Steve didn't want to have it there.
I don't blame him.
It would have been, the cost would have been a lot less.
Miss McLean, what you just said to me has absolutely nothing to do with what I've told you, which is you cannot use your former husband as a cash register. He's a person with opinions, and as long as you want to spend money and you want him to reimburse you for the money, he has the right to an opinion. You may not agree with that opinion, and if you don't agree with it and you want to spend the money, you spend it. What he's complaining about is you didn't discuss it with him. And that was wrong. I just want you to understand that I don't think your father was wrong. I think your mother was well-intentioned, but I don't think your father was wrong. And I've been involved with lots of weddings. And I wouldn't think of saying to my ex-husband, you're going to pay for half, and I'm going to decide where it's going to be, what kind of music we have, what flowers we have, what the invitations look like, and I'll send you the bill for half. Right?
But we did...
Flattened out on the floor. And I wouldn't blame him. So, in case there's any bad feeling, I don't think your father was wrong. And Miss McLean, if you wanted to do these things and you chose not to get an agreement with him before, you pay for it yourself. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He did agree to it in his email with his current wife, and I really felt that he should have paid half.
I actually did send $102 over the amount, and then I was just served papers. There was no discussion after that.
I just wish it wouldn't have happened. I would have rather not had an expensive wedding at all.
It's just water under the bridge. We'll move forward and we'll be fine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Friedman versus Zarba. Step forward, please.
Al Friedman is suing the current owner of his previous home, Mike Zarba, for the balance of a loan and for disposing of his valuable war memorabilia.
Mr. Friedman, you had a piece of property, a home.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, at first you leased that home to Mr. Zarba. And then there was a discussion about him purchasing the home. He ultimately did purchase the home.
Yes.
He had some trouble with getting an appropriate mortgage because of some credit problems that he may have had. And you loaned him the closing costs, which
Correct.
were $20,000, with a promise that he would repay that money within 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Correct.
So first it is your claim that he owes you some of that money, $2,800?
As of, no, it's $1,800
$1,800
left on the loan.
The second part of your lawsuit is that there was an agreement between the two of you that you could keep some property at the house, which you claim Mr. Zarba discarded.
Correct.
Mr. Zarba acknowledges that he discarded the property. He said that he gave you enough time to get it out, and he's not paying you the $1,800 that he acknowledges he owes on the original loan because he was forced to, A, hire a dumpster to get rid of your stuff, and B, he stored it all that time. Is that right, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first rent this house, Mr. Zarba?
End of July 2004.
And when you rented the house, Mr. Friedman still had some property there in both the shed and in an attic?
Yes.
When did you purchase the house?
April 2005.
And when did Mr. Friedman loan you the $20,000?
The closing, but we had an agreement where I did some work for him, so it wasn't really a loan.
Listen to me. When did he loan you the $20,000, which you acknowledge in your answer?
It would be the beginning of April.
And how long were you supposed to have to repay this loan, Mr. Zarba?
In about 60 days.
Good. When does your receipt indicate that you hired this dumpster to get rid of his property?
August 5th.
When did you tell Mr. Friedman that you weren't going to pay him his $1,800 until he removed his property?
It was the end of July, right?
July what?
July 20th.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Friedman.
Well, he showed up unexpected again. He treated me like I was a mini storage.
Listen to me. What conversation did you have with him?
The conversation was, you need to take care of your stuff, get it out, and we'll settle up.
Well, he came to your property
Yes.
looking for money. He didn't come there looking to take his stuff. He came there looking for his $1,800.
Well, it was $2,800 then, and I gave him $1,000.
And when you gave him the $1,000, you said, when you get the rest of your stuff out of here, you'll get your other $1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said he was going to get it out. That was the only agreement we had.
And he said he would get it out.
He said he'd get it out.
Now, 2 weeks later, you disposed of his property.
Yes. Gave him till August 1st, in a few days.
Well, so far you didn't give him any time, sir. You didn't say that to me.
No.
You said,
Okay.
when you get your stuff out, I'll give you your money. That's what you said
But
to
I've
me.
been
I
asking-
repeat, listen to me.
Okay.
I repeated it twice to you.
Okay.
Al Friedman says the man who bought his home disposed of his valuable war memorabilia. Mike Zarba claims it looked like junk.
What troubles me, Mr. Zarba, quite frankly, is your answer. The first line of your answer is the most telling part of your character. You say, I owe him nothing. We were overcharged for the home, considering its condition, and he's lucky we didn't charge him for storing the items. That you wrote. So what you're saying is that after you lived there for a while, and there were lots of things that you had to repair in the house, you didn't like the condition of the house, you said, I want to renegotiate in my own way the sale price of this house because I overpaid him for the house to begin with. You didn't write there that we had an agreement that we would store the stuff until August 1st. He didn't pick up the stuff August 1st. I hired a dumpster. No, no. The first thing that you wrote, the most important thing that you wrote was, I didn't like the purchase price, and I'm going to take another $1,800 out of the purchase price because I deserve that. That's not the way life works, Mr. Zarber. Is this your first house?
No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you did in your other houses, sir, but that's not the way you close a house. You close a house, you negotiate a price, that's the price. Once you purchase it, you don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarber?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect! Mr. Friedman, I want you to tell me what stuff, and I want you to be very careful, because I am an ecumenical abuser. I don't like when somebody tries to put one over late in the game, because that's what he did.
Yes.
I don't like when you try to put one over on me.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what valuable items you left in the house.
And I've made a list, and I'll go
you
through
sure you
the
want me to
list.
look at that list?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it.
The largest items on that list were two major important pieces to me were I had military boxes marked with military. I had a frame of, when I was in Vietnam, of a load crew in front of a plane that had my military ribbons on it. I'm a disabled veteran from Vietnam. There's also boxes I had marked with kids' items that had finger paintings in it from the time that they were kids, and just paraphernalia that they did through the years.
What you're really telling me is that the only thing that were there was your memorabilia. That is valuable, because two wooden Santa sleighs, handmade, 2 coolers, 2 sets of Malibu yard lights. I don't want to deal with that, sir.
Correct.
I had 10 years of postgraduate work. I don't deal with this. If it was important to you, you should have gotten it out. Now, you just disposed of everything, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that was the wrong thing to do.
There was nothing in there that looked like it was anything somebody would save. I've got pictures here.
I'm going to take a look at your pictures. Right now. Can I see the pictures, please?
I mean, this is what he left me. It's not pretty.
Well, the shed's not pretty. First of all, get a new camera or take photography lessons. I don't know what this is. Grass. I don't know what this is. I have no idea, sir. This is a whole major blur. Are you doing
let
this
him
on
in
purpose?
several times.
Listen to me, sir. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, ma'am.
When you took a picture of the grass, I could see that this is grass.
Yeah.
This looks like a Hungarian goulash, sir.
It was in the attic. The lighting wasn't very good. I agree. The pictures don't look great.
Listen to me, Mr. Zarba. This has nothing to do with lighting.
Okay.
This looks like somebody who's had a bad hangover took these pictures. All right. He had no right to destroy your property, sir. He had no right to take it away. He owes you $1,800 because he's a deadbeat on a loan that he made, and he owes you $1,500 for what he threw out. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Suing him for $4,300, I think that's excessive, sir, for the junk that you left there for over a year. But he has to be taught a lesson that he can't dispose of your stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's it. Goodbye and good luck. Nothing.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Joanne Smithson is suing her husband's cousin, Doris Smithson, for medical bills due to an assault. Doris claims Joanne verbally abused her elderly father.
Yeah, this is case number 206 on the calendar in the matter of Smithson versus Smithson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Smithson, you and the defendant are related to each other through marriage. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. You want her to be responsible for your medical bills and whatever pain and suffering you experienced as a result of an assault. You say that the plaintiff was disrespectful to your father-in-law?
To my father.
To your father. and that what ensued as a result of her being disrespectful was really no more than a scuffle, and the plaintiff was not injured. That's
Correct.
your defense. You both live in the same town?
Yes, ma'am.
And what town is this?
Bethesda, Paytonsville.
Maryland?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Franklin, Tennessee.
And how long have you been a Smithson?
27 years.
And you?
All my life. It's my maiden name.
Are there rich Smithsons and poor Smithsons?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I gather from these papers.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you one of the rich Smithsons or
Yes,
one of the
ma'am.
poor Smithsons?
I'm one of the richer Smithsons.
And you?
The poor Smithsons.
No, I got it. But I gather that the rich Smithsons and the poor Smithsons don't get along too well. So I want you to tell me your first name.
Doris Darnell Smithson.
And your first name?
Joanne.
I'm going to ask if you would allow me to be a little less formal because, first of all, Smithson is a tongue twister. And second of all, I want to be able to differentiate between the two of you. So would you mind if I were a little less formal? Is that all right? All right, Doris, tell me what precipitated this problem? I want you to explain to me.
Well, at the
what happened.
time, I really didn't know there was a problem. You know, there's always been harassment in the family ever since she's been in it, actually. But we've always got along with her because of my father's 92-year-old brother.
Okay. Now, your father's brother
Lives
is
with
her father-in-law.
Yes, ma'am. And it actually was me and her husband that actually had the argument.
Okay. Just tell me what precipitated the argument.
Okay,
There was a sale of property.
Yes,
An estate sale.
Estate sale.
And it was the estate sale of your father-in-law who was selling off personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that so far right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I go up there in good nature. We talk good. I talked with Joanne. I talked with Sam Jr. about stuff that they still had to sell. And I asked them if they had any more of Mammy's stuff, you know, my grandmother's. And they said no. Then they were talking about a lamp that my father wanted. I have no idea about this oil lamp she's talking about. And I said, well, what kind of oil lamp is it he's wanting? And maybe I can get him one. And then Sam Jr. starts coming out discussing.
Sam Jr. is her husband?
Her husband.
Okay.
See, so this was really mine and Sam Jr.'s argument.
Okay. You and her husband got into an argument.
Me and her
over
husband got in an argument.
Over this missing oil lamp.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So he starts just fussing and just really getting mad, and I'm just calm. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. You know, you've always been the greedy one in the family, and he always has. He's always been different from all of us.
What day was this, Doris?
Our fight was April the 16th, so it was the Saturday before that. It was the 10th.
10th of April. That was a week before this altercation that you had with Joanne.
Yes, ma'am.
Go
You know,
ahead.
so I left, and when I get home, he had called and said that my father went to their sale and left his lounge chairs. Him and my mother left their lounge chairs there.
Did they purchase these chairs?
No, it was their chairs that they
gave
took
them
to sit in at the auction. So the next day, my father goes up there to get these chairs, and she clobbers him, just literally clobbers him.
Okay. Would you step up, please, sir? Your last name is?
Smithson.
Mr. Smithson. Tell me what happened when you went to get your chairs.
When we didn't get the chair, it was on a Sunday. So I called Joanne and I asked, I said, we left 2 chairs up there. Did somebody get them or they're still there? She said, they're sitting out there in front of the barn. So I said, I'll be up there in the morning, which has been Monday morning, so I'll be up there around 9:30 or 10 to get them. She said, that'd be fine. So about 9:30, I went up there. I stopped right in front of the trailer at the parking place. And when I got out, my brother was sitting on the porch. And she come out, and that's when she started shaking her finger at me, cussing. And my brother got
Well,
up.
what did she say to you?
She called me SBs, MF, you name it, she called it.
But she had locked his chairs up in her trunk and wasn't going to let him have him. You're going to listen to me. You tell Darnell.
You listen to me. You weren't listening to me. Doris, you weren't there. And your father is doing just fine.
But finally, she come off the porch, and I said, Joanne, where my chair at? She said, well, you gonna listen to me first. I said, no, I didn't come up here to argue with you. I said, I come get my chairs. So finally, she got the chairs out of the car and rammed them up again and said, hey, you these chairs. She said, let me tell you something others. We got the lamp, but the only way you get it be busted over your D head. And she said they're married, but Sam Jr. tell everybody they ain't married. So I don't know.
Well, that's not for
we
me
don't
to
care for
figure
my
out
own
right
life.
now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smithson.
Thank
you
you,
may
Your
have
Honor.
a seat. What did you yell at him about?
I did.
Joanne, yes, you did. You did. I know you did. You know I know you did? Because I can tell when people are telling me the truth, and he's told me the truth. What were you yelling at him about?
I didn't yell at him, Your Honor. He came up to the front porch. That's when I went outside. And then I said, I've got something I need to talk to you about. And I said, I don't want to hear any more about this oil lamp.
Did you put the chairs in the trunk of your car?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because I was afraid that with these type of people we're dealing with, they could have said we stole them or anything.
Listen, do you understand what I mean when I say to you that I can tell when people are lying to me, Miss Smithson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can tell by their body English, you can tell by their hesitation, you can tell by their shifting, you can tell. I can tell. That's my job. I've been doing it for 35 years. So I can tell that you just made up a story. You were terribly disrespectful to him. There was no reason for you to put his chairs in the trunk of your car. Absolutely none.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Darnell comes behind my car and opens up the door, and after that, I don't remember the hit.
And later today,
You're told that your daughter's lungs are bleeding because of this bird, and you keep the bird November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Where is your head?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joanne Smithson claims her husband's cousin, Doris Smithson, attacked her, slamming her face into the dashboard of a car. Doris claims Joanne is the family troublemaker.
Now who are you?
Amber.
You're the one with the oil lamp.
No.
Where is the oil lamp?
Well, the oil lamp that they're talking about, I have no idea what oil lamp they're talking about.
Well, let's say any oil lamp, Amber. Let's start with any oil lamp, and I want you to be very clear on this, my dear.
Okay.
I can tell when your mother's lying, and I can tell when you're lying.
Well.
So, let's get to this. Do you live at home?
No, I don't.
You live in your own place?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an oil lamp in your place?
No, I don't.
Any oil lamp?
No, I have no.
Have you ever seen an oil lamp in your mother and father's house?
I've seen several oil lamps.
How many?
10, 12, maybe.
Okay. Do you know of any ones that you've seen in your mother and father's home that belonged to your grandmother?
I wouldn't know if it belonged to her or not.
So what you're telling me is you know nothing about the oil lamp. All right. Now you can have a seat. You're very lucky. Where's his oil lamp?
This oil lamp does not exist.
Fine. Now, I've already made a decision that you behaved badly with Mr. Smithson. That does not excuse an assault if one took place. Doris, you have to understand that. So now, Joanne, I want you to tell me what happened on the 16th of April when you were getting some gas.
Okay. My husband and I went to a local market, Bethesda Market. I was sitting in my car, seatbelt on. My husband went inside to get us a cold drink because we was on our way to the flea market. Darnell comes behind my car and opens up the door.
The passenger door?
Yes. And I looked up, and it was Darnell. And after that, I don't remember the hit. There's several things I remember, some things I don't remember.
Do you have photographs of your injuries?
I have a diagram, photograph from the emergency room.
The answer is you do not have photographs.
No.
You have medical records.
Right.
Good, I'll see the medical records. Anybody have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I've got two. The day of the assault and also the revenge assault against me over the lamp that I was cleared of.
What?
The same day, she and her father took out a revenge warrant against me over a lamp.
I never heard of a revenge warrant.
Well, it is.
No,
Okay.
there's no such thing as a revenge warrant.
Then what is
They
it?
filed a complaint against you.
Okay. The same day that the assault happened.
Well, there is absolutely no issue as to whether you were assaulted or not. You were, in fact, assaulted.
Also, I was... Shh. Okay.
Mr. Smithson.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, sir. You filed a complaint with the police.
I did not.
Well, your daughter did. And the most important thing is that when the police officer questioned you, you told the police as follows, because this is in the police officer's own language. Mr. Smithson, that's you, said that when he returned home, that he told his daughter Darnell about Joanne's actions and abusive language and remarks that were directed towards him, that you told your daughter. According to Mr. Smithson, Darnell said that when next she saw Joanne, that she would whoop her. And from his testimony, she did. Did your daughter say that to you?
I didn't even see my daughter that day, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Whether it was that day or the next day, you told the police. You wouldn't have lied to the police, would you, Mr. Smithson?
No, I would not.
Either you told the police that your daughter said she was going to whoop Joanne, or the police officer is lying. Which one do you think it is?
I'm not going to say the officer's lying, no.
Good. I'm glad you wouldn't say that, Mr. Smithson. Sit down now. Okay. Now I'm going to hear you, Doris, because you see.
Yes, ma'am.
I know when people are lying, like Joanne here.
Yes.
But I can read medical records, and I know she was assaulted.
But not $4,000 worth. I have one.
I want to tell you
here.
something. Not $4,000 worth. How much do you think it's worth when somebody hits you in the face?
Well, I really never hit her.
Yes, you did.
All I did was just, she come out of her car. Nobody seen me hit her.
I didn't ask whether anybody. I saw the medical.
Listen
to me. I saw the medical records. She was hit in the face.
Okay. I was also scratched right here.
Did she go to your car?
No, I live right across the store. I'm going to the store. They're already there. And she hollers at me first, "Hey, you." And I said, oh, Lord, here's Joanne. You know, she starts coming out of her car. I calmly just set her right back down in her seat.
That's worth $4,000, madam.
Well,
because what you're doing is fibbing to me.
Joanne Smithson claims her husband's cousin, Doris Smithson, attacked her, slamming her face into the dashboard of a car. Doris claims Joanne is the family troublemaker.
Doris, medical records don't lie. Diagrams of her injuries don't lie. Listen, pay careful attention. Because you were angry that your father was disrespected by Miss Big Mouth over here.
Well, if
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Without any just cause, because I do have a feeling that she's a troublemaker. I believe that. Yeah. Because I think that probably a lot of things that were sold, things that might have had sentimental value to both brothers, should have been, before you sell them to strangers, you say, listen, would you like something of Mom's? Would you like something that's been in the family for a long time? That's what decent people do, Joanne. And if you didn't do that, and if your husband didn't do that, that means you're not decent people. Do you understand? However, that doesn't mean you can put your hands on her. So, the fact that she disrespected your father, and the fact that you did say to him, next time I see her, I'm going to whoop her, the fact that you did it is going to cost you $4,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I run to her car. I jumped in there. I jumped on her and I grabbed her like that. And if she jumps on him again, I'll do it again.
This is such a dysfunctional family.
All of our families together. They're the only one that's out of the family.
I don't even associate with these people.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Franks. Step forward.
Amber Smith is suing her sister, Vanessa Franks, for selling her cockatoo and keeping the proceeds.
Miss Smith, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this case is not going to take long, Bird. Don't get comfortable, because I quite frankly don't understand what the defense is in this case. You sold your sister a bird, an exotic bird. What kind of bird was it?
She was a Moluccan cockatoo.
And you charged her how much for the bird?
Only $700 for the bird in the cage, which is normally worth a lot more.
Please. That's not complicated. You charged her $700.
Yes.
And she was going to pay you.
Yes.
Little bits. And she paid you some. How much did she pay you?
She paid me $100 in November.
And then she stopped making payments?
Yes.
Your sister says that you were supposed to come and get the bird because her daughter had some sort of an illness, that she couldn't be in the house with the bird. She told you to come and get the bird. You didn't come and get the bird, so she sold it.
Yes, ma'am.
And sold it for?
$500.
$500. And you took the $500 and you?
put it in the bank.
That's my question, Miss Franks. If you sold the bird...
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think you're entitled to sell the bird and keep the money instead of paying your sister for the bird?
Okay, in November, my daughter's lungs bled in November of 2004. I called my sister on the phone, stated to her, I'm either going to have to sell this bird or you can have the bird back. She said, we want the bird back, don't sell the bird. They came for Thanksgiving. You taking the bird? No, we're not taking the bird. Christmas, are you taking the bird?
Miss Franks, is what you're telling me, just put your hand down. Is what you're telling me that your daughter's lungs were bleeding because of the bird.
Right.
And you kept the bird in your house between November, when your daughter was diagnosed with this illness?
No, she's been diagnosed since birth.
Well, between the time you were told to get rid of the bird in November and you kept the bird till Christmas?
The bird was actually in my home until right at the beginning of May.
What town do you live in?
Milledgeville, Georgia.
Anywhere in the state of Georgia, do they have an animal rescue?
Not
of course
where
they
I
do.
live, no.
I don't care where you live or not. They do have trees in Georgia, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, if my child had bleeding lungs, and doctor told me in November that I had to get rid of this bird because this bird was causing my child's lungs to bleed, and if I couldn't find someone to take that bird, it is warm in Georgia, isn't it?
For part of the year, yes.
Well, I would hope that it was the right part of the year, because that window would be open, that bird would be gone. I don't understand where you're coming from. You're told that your daughter's lungs are bleeding because of this bird. And you keep the bird November, December, January, February, March, April, May! Where is your head?
She's my sister at the same time.
Please don't speak. Okay. Listen to me, Miss Smith.
Yes.
Your sister acknowledges that she told you she was going to give you $700 for the bird.
Yes.
I haven't heard anything cogent as to why she should be able to sell a bird that she didn't pay for and not pay for it. Anybody hear a reason? Hearing none, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Half of the match is over, and the red team is in the lead.